Joining us right now from The Athletic, it's his debut.
Well,
regular season debut. No,
okay.
I'm talking about the game tonight, not on the show.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, look, players this morning, they get up, they probably have a protein shake, maybe take a run, stretch, get ready. You're in game mode. Put the AirPods in. Matt Barrows is no different. His fingers have to be perfectly ready for the just insane amount of typing that's going to happen tonight. He has to be aware. No drinking, nothing like that. It's game day, baby. Good morning.
The second half.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I got to clear out the tape recorder, make sure there's space in the old noggin for everything that I'm going to see. So, yeah, ready, very ready for week one after a very full run-up to week one.
You've been doing this for a long time. Would you rather do it like this, where you can get all the other games out of the way and you can actually maybe have a little bit of a weekend, whatever, then Monday night? Or would you, I'm asking you personally, I mean, family-wise, social-wise, whatever it is, would you rather have the game tonight or would you rather just knocked it out yesterday?
I would have rather have knocked it out yesterday. The ideal would be to be that Thursday night team that starts the season. So you start the season with a little mini bye. You get the full weekend and you're rested for your week 2 game. I mean, that's a real advantage. Winning the Super Bowl probably gets you that game. So a little even extra incentive for the 49ers this year.
Yeah, and then for you, too, and the team, you're right. It's a shorter week now all of a sudden. You haven't even played this game yet tonight, but then they got a shorter week to worry about for week 2. But as we look at tonight's week 1 matchup, Nat, what are some of the things that maybe the Niners should be concerned about going into this one against the Jets?
Well, they've got a rookie at right guard, Dominic Pooney, and this is a team that does not like to play rookies as rookies. I mean, very, very few have played since the Shanahan era began in 2017. So you've got the rookie Pooney going against probably Javon Kinlaw, but Quentin Williams for certainly a few plays. And then the other issue is that your left guard, Aaron Banks, really hasn't practiced very much. He had the broken finger for basically the second half of camp. So, and then you have a left tackle in Trent Williams who barely has practiced at all because of his contract holdout. So there hasn't been a lot of continuity on that offensive line, and you're going against a very good defensive line, a very good defensive team, really. So I think that's a concern. And then the other side, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson. And I think that'll be a real nice first test for a rebuilt 49ers defensive line. And then a secondary that really, at least on paper, ought to be the best secondary that this team has had in quite a long time. Certainly the cornerback position can say that. So a nice challenge right off the bat for those guys.
We're also looking at Christian McCaffrey right now, and with CMC, and he's been fairly healthy, knock on wood, since he's gotten to the Niners. But the whole calf thing, which sounds like it's been kind of hammering him for a bit. How worried are you about him? Is he going to be on a pitch count tonight?
I'd say slightly worried because this was something that he dealt with. It was that Commanders game, Week 17, late last season. And didn't really rear its head in the playoffs, and he played very well in the playoffs. But what we don't know right now is this a remnant of what he was dealing with back in January? And if it is, that suggests an injury that has been very hard for him to shake. So that's a big concern. Hard to tell from practice because we've only been seeing the regular season practices, which from the media standpoint are abbreviated. And he looks fine there for what that's worth, but we haven't seen him, go all out at this point. But we're going to find out very soon tonight.
Matt, how about the challenge of going against this Jets team and Aaron Rodgers? Last year was so incomplete. That first Monday night game, he gets hurt. We don't really know what he would have looked like as a Jet. It's another year removed after the injury. What do they expect from him and kind of that balanced, what they hope to be a balanced attack for the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, you talk about getting the ball out quickly. And that's something that can thwart this 49ers defense. Like I said, it'll be a real nice test of basically a rebuilt defensive line. No Eric Armstead. Malik Collins is in. They're not going to have Yetur Gross-Matos, so they're already sort of down a man in that rotation. So to me, I'm looking at Leonard Floyd and Nick Bosa and what that matchup is like, and whether having a more marquee bookend will cause problems. I mean, you look back to Rodgers' injury last year. That was Leonard Floyd that did that. He was in on the sack on which Rodgers was injured. So, my thought is that that's going to be a marked improvement for this 49ers team, more pressure. But like I said, right off the bat, they're going to have, one of the best quarterbacks in the last quarter century and somebody who's really good at getting the ball out of his hands. So a true test right off the bat.
And I know you cover the 49ers, but obviously their opponent is part of your coverage. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and really there's a lot of week one question marks going into this game, but the one that stands above all is Aaron Rodgers. What are you hearing about him, how he's looked? I assume 100% all systems go, everyone's high on him, or are you hearing whispers of losing a fastball or anything Niner fans can hang their hat on?
Yeah, no whispers of losing the fastball. The arm is all there. You wonder about the mobility and escapability and things like that. He didn't play a lot on TV in the summer, so it's a bit of a mystery for everyone. The 49ers do have a very good track record against him historically. I mean, my sense is that track record is mostly based on the Vic Fangio teams, the Jim Harbaugh coach teams that would often play the Packers and would usually beat the Packers. And that was done by basically taking away his passing lanes and dropping a lot of guys into coverage. And these 49ers teams are very capable of doing that. And that kind of brings up another sort of new element this season. Last season, the 49ers just couldn't settle on a third cornerback. And they had different guys, Isaiah Oliver in the beginning of the season, Logan Ryan at the end of the season, some other iterations in between. That was a real issue from jump. This year, they're much more optimistic. I think Isaac Yiadom is going to be the outside guy, which means that Diamador Lenore is going to go inside. Lenore is going to be matched up against Garrett Wilson quite a bit. Lenore is going into his contract year. So Lenore, a very confident guy, really is looking forward to this matchup and looking forward to showing people what he can do this season. And the expectation from him is he's going to cash in March.
Matt Barrows joining us from The Athletic, brought to you by Stockton Honda. Matt, there was a lot, like you said, the offseason was full with a lot of different things. And from whether it's CMC being banged up a little bit in camp, Trent Williams delay and hold out, and the hold in for Ayuk, the Pearsall frightening situation that all seems to be on a positive now. Do you think the Niners have done a good job to isolate that and put that aside as they get ready for their opener?
To me, that's the biggest question. I mean, how does all of this affect them? And it can go, any number of ways. I mean, it was exhausting. It felt to me like they had played a season just last week when they finally got Trent Williams in. It was like just a big kind of sigh of relief, but also a sigh of exhaustion in a way. So it's been a very trying off season. By the same token, though, there was an element of elation too. That coupled with Ayuk, coupled with sort of the miraculous way that Ricky Pearsall emerged from that shooting relatively unscathed. There was a real sort of joy in the locker room too. So, what I'm saying is that maybe all of those things lift this team as well. I go back to last year, and I thought that there was a weird vibe going into Pittsburgh last year. Remember that they just come off the Trey Lance trade. That was bizarre. It was just tantamount to a failure, an admission that this team had made a really, really bad decision, costly decision, and then had to trade Trey Lance. Brock Purdy's elbow was an issue last year, a question mark. How's he going to kind of function in this first game? Nick Bosa had just signed at this point last year. So there were all sorts of weird, oddball things at this stage in 2023. And so the question was, oh, God, how are the 49ers going to react? Well, they went into Pittsburgh and just throttled the Steelers. And the Steelers thought they were going to be good at the beginning of last year. And it just was not a close game at all. So very, very possible that same sort of thing happens today, that this is such a good team. When they focus, they are very good. And, they may have that focus going into tonight's game.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. I'm going to ask you 3 injury questions, some long, some short term. Well, let's start with you're talking about weird, strange things that have happened. How about destroying your Achilles by celebrating on the sideline? Dre Greenlaw, where at all, anything? How is he doing? How's his recovery?
I see him out at practice. He's not in uniform. He's sort of hanging out with the linebackers. But Dre Greenlaw is a guy who's extremely animated. So he's always moving around, always kind of whirling around, tossing a ball back and forth with somebody. He looks good, is my point. I've always thought that, remember this, as you pointed out, this injury happened in the Super Bowl. So we're talking early February. So you do need some distance between that and when you come back. I always thought mid-season would be about right for him. And the bye is around mid-season. I feel like that's probably what they're going to do with him. But I think the bottom line is that everything seems on track with that Achilles injury.
Talanoa Hufanga?
They thought that he had a chance to play this week. And I always thought, this is an ACL, even worse than the Achilles, really. And that happened on November 19th. And I thought for a long time, no way Talanoa Hufanga is going to play in this game. And he almost did, which suggests that he's almost back. I don't think he's going to play tonight. I think they're going to elevate a safety off of their practice squad. But I think next week is very much in play. And then certainly the week after that. They do have 2 games coming up on artificial surfaces. I don't know how much that plays into the calculus. But he's close to playing. If he wasn't, they would have kind of kept him on PUP to begin the season, which would have negated the first 4 games. So by that rationale, you think, okay, he's going to come back either week 2 or week 3.
All right, Matt. And then finally, we're out of time, but I got to ask you, because you brought up Ricky Pearsall earlier. And I think enough time has passed to where I don't think it's insensitive now that we know he's more than okay to ask. I believe first 4 games of the season for sure. Is there any indication at all that he may be targeting week 5 to come back? Is it still way too early to come back to debut, or is it still way too early to even speculate?
I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm at all. I mean, I think what the 49ers are sort of waiting to see now is how he reacts sort of emotionally and mentally to this incident, which obviously is very traumatic. I checked in with Brian Robinson, the Commanders running back who was shot in a robbery attempt 2 years ago in Washington, D.C., and he still doesn't want to talk about it. And he still gets very emotional when he's asked about it. I'm just trying to illustrate to you what effect that can have on guys. So I think the 49ers are being very cautious there. Remember, he also had a shoulder injury even before he was shot. So there's that to think about. But as far as the wound that the bullet caused, it's almost as if it's healed already. It's not an issue right now, and the 49ers don't think it's going to be an issue in a couple of weeks. So I think week 5 is very much in play, and I think it's something that Ricky Pearsall is looking forward to.
Well, as we sign off, what a perfect way to sign off, Matt, with a happy 24th birthday to Ricky Pearsall. Yeah. He turns 24 today. So there you go, Matt. We appreciate you. Not much older than 24 yourself, as a matter of fact. And looking forward to your coverage with The Athletic after tonight.
Yeah, multiply that number by 2 and then add a few more digits, and then you're in the ballpark.
You don't look a day over 45, buddy. You have a wonderful time. We'll talk to you next week,
Thanks,
pal.
Matt.
Take
All
care.
right, sounds good, guys. Talk to you then.
That's Matt Barrows. We'll take a break. When we come back,